A reading from the Gospel of John. Jesus said, "Amen, amen, I say to you, whoever does not enter a sheepfold through the gate, but climbs over elsewhere, is a thief and a robber. But whoever enters through the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens it for him, and the sheep hear his voice, as the shepherd calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has driven out all his own, he walks ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they recognize his voice. But they will not follow a stranger. They will run away from him because they do not recognize the voice of strangers." Although Jesus used this figure of speech, the Pharisees did not realize what he was trying to tell them. So Jesus said again, "Amen, amen, I say to you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved, and will come in and go out and find pasture. A thief comes only to steal and slaughter and destroy. I came so that they might have life and have it more abundantly." Whenever I read John's Gospel, there are several factors that I keep in mind. First, I am very much aware that John is referred to as the spiritual gospel. So I need to read it from that vantage point rather than from a literal perspective. Second, I realize how different John's gospel is from the other three. While Matthew, Mark, and Luke have Jesus being quoted in shorter and more memorable sayings, John's gospel has Jesus talking for such a long time that one might wonder if he's ever going to stop talking. If Jesus literally said these long orations, then that would be quite a challenge to remember through oral tradition. Third, knowing these first 2 points, I look at this spiritual gospel as John's community telling us what they believed through the words of Jesus. After all, these long orations from Jesus in John's gospel would most likely have not been how people learned about Jesus through oral tradition. Rather, it would be through shorter sayings like Jesus' parables and other memorable one-liners like turning the other cheek. As a result, these longer sayings are different than Jesus' parables and short sayings. And these sayings in John's gospel then make more sense when you look at them from the vantage point of what his community believed. When we apply this to John's passage on the sheep and the gate, we of course see that John's community believes Jesus to be the shepherd, and we are his sheep. That part is easy to see. But then this passage takes it a step further when he calls us shepherds who are to lead other sheep through the gate of Christ. Just as Jesus is our shepherd, John's community believes that we too are called to be shepherds who lead the flock to Christ. Like a shepherd, Jesus, of course, puts us on his shoulders and takes care of us by seeking us out when we stray, as well as curing us of anything that ails us in this life. As a result, just as Jesus puts us on his shoulders and cares for us, we must do the same for others who might stray and need to be brought back to Christ. In this day, just as it was back in the first century, there are many voices that can lead us astray. Yet a good sheep only hears the voice of the shepherd. Clearly, John's community challenges us to be like a good sheep who listens to the voice of Jesus, the good shepherd, as opposed to other voices that might lead us astray. Then, in turn, we must be the voice of the good shepherd for others. So although this gospel passage can seem a bit confusing at first, especially since it is arguably not the most well-known passage about Jesus as the Good Shepherd, Looking at this passage through the eyes of John's community makes it easier to understand and apply to our own lives. As a result, we can see how stories like this one are still relevant over 2,000 years later. We continue to go through similar struggles that John's community did. So when we go through hard times, one way to work through them is to, of course, turn to the scriptures.